Welcome to Creative Courage Chats, a search for a new understanding of creativity and problem solving. I'm Alex Raffi. We're going to jump in. Welcome again to another edition here of Creative Courage Chats. And today I'm with Kathleen Ruddy here. She's with St Baldricks, and it's an organization I am clearly a big fan of here. So I've been involved with St Baldricks. It's a great organization that raises money to help fight childhood cancer. It raises money for childhood cancer research specifically. And it's an incredible organization full of incredible people. And I'm in marketing, and I got to say, of all the charitable organizations, you guys do, in my opinion, the best job. So your marketing team is fantastic, and they do a fantastic job. And I'm very impressed with all of the things that you guys put out. But anyway, that's enough. I could talk about St. Baldricks forever, but I want you to go ahead and maybe introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about what it is you do and a little bit about St. Baldricks.
Well, first of all, Alex, thank you so much for welcoming me and allowing me to share this time with you and with your audience. I think we both could probably talk about St. Baldricks and our important mission forever. We exist to solve one of the greatest challenges of our time, which is curing cancer. And in our case, specifically, it's curing childhood cancers. And I say because there's more than 100 types of cancers that are specific to children. And they are different diseases and then the cancers that adults get typically. And because kids are not little adults, their bodies and minds are still developing, the way you treat them has to change. So you can't just downsize an adult treatment and give it to a child. So what we exist to do is to make sure that the researchers around the world have the resources they need to pursue really effective therapies, and that not only help kids survive, but help them thrive as a survivor. When you get toxic chemicals in the form of chemotherapy, or you get radiation, which is basically burning parts of your body, or you are cutting parts of your body out, especially when your body and mind is still developing, those actions, while they may save your life, impose scars that you live with forever. And because of the tender age of kids fighting cancers, those therapies often cause second and third cancers later in life, or heart disease, infertility, for some kids, brain damage, a whole host of issues that are significant and really alter the quality of that survivor's life for the whole of their life. And so we're not only about making sure that every child gets to live, but to make sure they get to live a full life and have all the options available to them as if they had never had cancer at all.
Right.
And the way that you've been involved, and you and I first met each other, is because you shave your head every year.
Right.
In Las Vegas. And that's where, in fact, our name came from. Our three founders of our organization were all Irish Americans, and they proudly celebrated St. Patrick's Day every year. Their industry had a party, and they decided to kind of hijack that party and take it over, make St. Patrick's Day
St. Baldricks,
by shaving their heads in solidarity with kids with cancer. They got everybody at the party to sponsor them. And that first year, the year 2000, they raised $104,000. They scratched their bald heads and said, wow, maybe we should do this again.
Right.
Now we have raised more than $400 million now through events like that all over the world, including events in Vegas every year that generate more than $1 million every single year for life-saving research. And it's extraordinary. And
about half of that is just at McMullen's too, McMullen's Irish Pub. I mean, that event is pretty epic. That's the one I'm always involved in. And that's, Lynn and Brian McMullen over there, they've been fighting that fight for a very long time, and they're big heroes for the charge, for this. I want to also say, people that come to these videos to watch me talk about with artists and stuff like that, and creativity and stuff like that. Why am I talking to Kathy here? So I want to explain to them that this is why. Because when you think of creativity, you think of it as problem solving. Creativity should be looked at as problem solving. If you're an artist, your job is to take information, process it, and create new ideas. And this was something that came from creativity. This came from a group of people that were trying to find a solution to a problem, a pretty large problem. And they used their intellect and their knowledge and their understanding and their passion and their hearts and their love for their children. And that all turned into this particular kind of solution. And that's a powerful thing because it created something that drew people in to want to be involved. And if you can find a way to communicate creatively that can really draw people and create a movement with your creativity, it's something that's very important and powerful. And I think there's a lot to be learned from organizations like St Baldricks. And you've been so involved and seen so many people that have been involved with this organization, and everybody has a story. And I have this weakness that I sometimes I wish I didn't have during the events, because one of the most powerful things you can see at an event is two things. When you see a child getting their head shaved for a brother or sister, or just a friend, getting their head shaved, that's a powerful thing to watch because you know the meaning behind it. Or if you see a woman shaving her head, who cares if a guy shaves his head? I mean, you're going to disagree with me, but who cares? Come on, we'll just grow back. But if you see a woman shaving her head, it's pretty impactful. And a lot of times I see this emotion come out of them, and I always have to tell them, this is where I make my mistake. I always have to tell them, you look so beautiful. And what that does is it causes them to say either thank you, or it causes them to want to tell me their story. And when I hear the stories, you can't get them out of your head, and they stick with you forever. And I hear those stories, and I'm carrying them with me, and they bring me back every year. That's why I keep coming back. And so it's really important to me. I'm a lucky guy. I have a daughter, and she's healthy, and I think that's another reason why you get involved, is because I'm grateful, and I'm lucky, and I should be, and you should be giving back if you have the ability to give back. It's very important to go ahead and give back. Anyway, sometimes I talk too much. This is something I'm very passionate about, but I do believe that I'd love to hear a little bit about you. Like what brought you to St Baldricks? How did you get involved?
I'd love to tell you that, but I want to just say, remark on what you just said first, if I can, because you said something very powerful, and your daughter, thank God, is healthy. And so many people who've become involved in St Baldricks do so to pay it forward, to give thanks for the health of the children in their life. And then there are many people who came to St Baldricks because they know a child who has been impacted by cancer, and want to fix that problem. They want that future to be protected for that child.
It's the Kimsey family is the one that brought me to St Baldricks.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Claire Kimsey and Wyndham Kimsey.
Yes.
He's a good friend of mine. So, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, it's whether or not it's a family of a child with cancer who brings a person to the organization. I don't know a person, Alex, who doesn't know somebody who's fought cancer.
Right.
And it's very rare that you meet a person who doesn't know anybody who's died of cancer, right?
Yeah.
And the idea of the horrendous suffering that a cancer patient has to endure, the idea of a child having to fight for their life is so viscerally offensive to everybody that the opportunity to say, I can help save a child's life, I have something to give, is incredible.
Yeah.
Because, growing up, I wanted to be a doctor, and I wanted to be a pediatrician or obstetrician. And in high school, I discovered, by the time I got to chemistry, I realized I don't think I can be a doctor because my brain could not wrap around chemistry. I was pretty sure I couldn't get beyond that. So I realized, oh my goodness, I need a new plan. And, I still get to be a part, though, an important part of helping save kids' lives. I don't do it the way I thought I would as a child, but I'm still part of that.
Yeah.
You too. Everybody in St Baldricks, everybody, no matter what your profession, your age, whether you're a kindergartner or in 95, you can play a role. If you have hair, if you have any money, if you have a little time to give, if you want to lend your voice to advocate with Congress for better policies that serve kids, whatever you have to give, we can utilize. And that, I think, is hugely powerful, because in this day and age where we feel like so many forces are beyond our individual control, this is something we can all help solve together. And how beautiful that everybody agrees that this is a problem that should be solved.
Agreed,
People
yeah.
just don't know how, and that's what we're trying to do. So anyway, I just wanted to thank you for what you just said, because I thought it was very well stated. So what brought me to St. Baldricks? So I had always been in the fundraising world. I think when I learned I was not going to be a doctor, I wanted to find another way to help people. And so it was just natural for me to go that way. I had, at a certain period in time, I had lost a number of people, close family members, very close friends to cancer, fighting cancer. I got a call one day from a executive search person, commonly known as headhunter, right? And who said, I've got this great job for you. And they told me it was across town. You know, at the time I lived near the beach. I had this great single life and whatever. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to drive across LA traffic, whatever. And then they told me what the mission was, childhood cancer. I said, I'm in. And they said, well, you have to interview. I said, you tell them I'll take the job. And it was you know, they could have had me for $1 at that point, because it was so like just a blend of the journey that my friends and family had been on, plus my lifelong interest and passion. Well, I have considered myself very blessed every day of these last 20 plus years to be able to get to do this work, to serve this mission, to be able to work with the most extraordinary people.
Yeah, they're amazing.
That brings out the best in everybody. Like you said, everybody's creativity, everybody's ideas, their passion, their generosity. It's just, I am blessed every day to get to do this. I did not always wake up in the morning and look forward to going to work. I will confess that. But every day that I've been at St. Baldricks, even the hard days, even the days that I've had to attend a funeral, I know that there's value being created in that day, and important work. And in those hard days, it just reminds me how important what we are doing is. And I have to remind myself of the incredible strides that we've made and the tremendous outcomes, which have been huge. So, and that's all because, you know, people are willing to step up and shave or give time or money and whatever they can, and all sorts of other creative things to make cures possible.
You know, every loss of a child to cancer feels like a failure, you know. Every single one, everyone is so, you couldn't even, you know, every story I hear, every time it happens, what is the rate right now? How many kids is it every
2 minutes in the world, worldwide, every 2 minutes a child is diagnosed with cancer.
Right.
In high income countries like the US, 1 in 5 will not survive their cancer. In low income countries, 4 out of 5 will not survive their cancer.
It's important for people to also understand that, you know, there's a huge difference between adult cancer and childhood cancer. In adult cancer, there's a history of medical history that doctors can use to pull data from that might help them treat the cancers. And there's a lot of clues there. And people don't realize it's usually not even noticed till too late with these kids. And there isn't as much medical history. And there's a lot of differences about, there's, you know, in treating a small body than there is in treating an adult. And how many risks, I mean, doctors are wanting to save lives all the time, but you as a parent, you know, have to create these calculations. I mean, I had to do it with my mom. My mom passed away from cancer, and I was with her every second of the day, you know, dealing with it. And I had to, you know, sit there and advocate for her and talk to the doctors and make choices and everything. And it was incredibly difficult. Now I can't even imagine, you know, with your child, because you want to try everything to save them.
Absolutely.
And but there's suffering here. There's suffering involved. And that's the other thing. It's a deep dive sometimes, and I've gone pretty deep with your organization, and I've done my research, and it's painful. It's painful research to do, but it's important to feel that. It's important to feel that, and to feel these losses like they're your own, because it brings you back. Anyway, this is a hard one for me because I feel it very deeply, but I also think it's incredibly important, and I think that it so neatly fits into my bigger goal of really challenging people to you know listen to your. It's not even a conscience. There's a part in us that's always driving us into a certain direction, and we decide whether we want to listen to it or not, you know. And I think that that's an important thing. All of us have this thing. It's the thing that nudges us in different directions. It's the thing that gives us the hints that we need when we have an idea. It's that part of us, and usually I think that comes from a really good place. And it's sometimes we don't hear it, or we ignore it, or we're afraid to try and things. And I think a lot of times this is the struggle that a lot of people that are new to St. Baldricks, and they're asked to raise money, and they feel either shy because they have to ask for money, and they want to, but they don't know how to approach people. And I've counseled so many people on ways to do this, and a lot of times it's just give it a shot, and you'll see how easy it is. Just say the words. Say the reasons you are doing this to somebody, and they will, and I raise generally between $4,000 and $6,000 during each event myself. And it's gotten to that level. It started, I think my first one was about $1,500, and it's gotten to be about $4,000 to $6,000. And nobody cares if I get bald. Nobody cares. That's not the real reason people are donating. They're donating because I'm asking, and because that I'm sharing, and it means a lot to me, and they're good people, and they care about me, they care about the causes, and they come back, and I'm grateful, and I don't expect them to, and I'm grateful with every single time. If somebody one year doesn't donate, it doesn't matter. And I say, if you're not going to donate, then can you share my link that talks about the organization? Because that's just as good as a share as far as I'm concerned. And, and try to get the word out. What are some of the things that I do the weird thing with Photoshop, right? Scott, everybody that donates to me, I don't care if it's $1, I'll Photoshop your picture into anything you want. And it's silly, and it's fun, and I do that. And it also gives me an opportunity to have them share it on social media, and then their friends go, oh, that's a funny picture. What is that? Oh, you're donated to an organization? What's that organization? That's great. I'll donate it to, so I've had strangers donate because of it. So that's my way of trying to raise that money. What are some of the interesting ideas you've seen? I mean, there's so many. But is there something? I know there's all sorts of people. I mean, I'm sorry, Chris Angel, right?
Yes.
The amazing magician Chris Angel is a huge donor. St. Baldricks here in Las Vegas. He's a superhero, and unfortunately, his son, right, is
Christopher, exactly, has been fighting cancer, and God bless him. They have been. It's a long slog because treatment for leukemia is a long deal. It's typically many years, and I pray for that family all the time because, and it's hard to see your child relapse and. They understand. They are a living example of why research is so important and making progress is so important. Because what's the value of one life? What's the value of 300,000 new lives every year being diagnosed, right? It's just, it's a staggering problem that we can solve together. So creative ideas. So yes, there's everything from using your professional talents, as Chris does, to call in friends in the entertainment industry, to be involved and to find new ways to access their audiences and fans and so forth, to bring them to the cause. There are people who, will do other things. Like, for example, this year I did a thing where in the quarantine time, right, was not able to color my hair. So I've been growing out these roots, right? I did a virtual thing, Root Out Child of Cancer. And it was great. My friend stepped up and gave over $5,500 for that.
Oh, wow.
And it's, again, as you said, it's because we give to the people And if you can make a case for a cause and you can be authentic about it,
Right.
it is very easy to get people to respond. Not everybody this year is in a position to give, right? And so many businesses have been impacted. So many people's livelihoods are gone temporarily, we hope, but you can't raise what you would in other years in most cases. But if we can find the people who can give something, then together all those somethings add up. We have people who, and you've seen this at Lynn and Brian's at McMullen's Irish Pub, where they will put the green hair extensions in if they're not shaving. People will cut their hair, like often ladies will cut their hair. People shave their beards.
Beard is weird. That's a great team.
I know. I mean, there's so many things that people do to find creative ways to mix it up a little bit. People will often say, well, if I reach my goal, I will also shave my mustache or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember a volunteer who, this was a few years back. Well, it's actually happened a few times now, where his wife of almost 30 years had never seen him without a mustache. He auctioned off the right to shave his mustache. Nobody in his industry had ever seen him without that. And so that went for a lot of money because people wanted to know what was he looked like without it. People find fun things, but we've had volunteers who've done things completely different from head shaving too, to try and introduce new people to the cause. Like there's a longtime volunteer in New York named Lou Monteleone who created the conga line, or the conga against cancer, and he called it Line of Hope. And he literally started a conga line in his town, and then he created this thing where people could participate virtually across the country, and they created like a paper doll chain that they could post on social media to show this line going across the country, right? What a simple but powerful concept, and it was fun and different. And how many people in town can conga, right? They may not be ready to shave their head, but they can conga. And so creative things like that. We had a company this year, I don't know if you saw the new video game, because we have a mobile app video game now.
Wow, I did not know this.
Yeah, our new partner, Chic Extreme, the company that makes razors.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically for heads.
I think I've got one.
So, yes.
Yeah.
So they came to us and they said, we need to be working together. We said, hallelujah, welcome to the table. And they created a game called Shave the Day. And I'm just going to show it to you right now on the camera, but it's kind of starting to load here. And it's free. It's a free download.
Okay. I'll put the link on there.
Great. It's from either the Apple or the Android store.
Okay.
So it is free. And you play, and the points that you rack up then get donated in dollars to St Baldricks by Chic Extreme.
Oh my goodness.
And it's really fun because Chic Extreme Man is like riding a razor like a hoverboard, and he's having to leap the heads and shave the heads, get the gold coins and
that's dodge great.
The shaving. It's really fun.
Yeah.
I will tell you that I was very impressed with my top score of 426.
Wow.
Which took me weeks to get to, Alex, but I don't think I'm threatening anybody's reign because the top score is like well over 5,000 right now.
There you go.
So I don't think I'm going to be anybody's champion there, but I'm just proud of my little score. And I'm working to get to 500 someday. But it's a brilliant, creative way to engage new people. One of the things that I told Matt Bell, Chic Extreme's CEO, that I was so grateful for this idea and this opportunity is because kids with cancer who are in the hospital right now, in quarantine, I mean, this year we've all been experiencing what it's like to live as kids with cancer, and their families have to all the time, like not knowing where it's safe to go and who it's safe to see and having to be in quarantine. Like kids with cancer live that way all the time. And we're all experiencing that. But wow, this game is something that we can all do together, and we can know that people all over the world are playing it and fighting cancer at the same time as we're having a little bit of fun and a little stress break from all the things that are going on in the world right now, right? And it's beautiful. And I love the fact that, the kids who can't come out to the events right now and can't engage in the same way still see what's going on their path. and can enjoy it.
Yeah, the courage in these kids is really remarkable. It's really interesting
Mhm.
too, because I've also learned throughout the years that when you're talking to a family who's going through this, that sometimes you know, this is a little inside baseball, but I think that sometimes it's because we have this urge of saying, "Wow, you're so brave. You guys are so brave going through this."
Mhm.
And to be honest, you don't have a choice. It's not about bravery. It's about they'd rather just be outside and having their kids go to school, you know. But there's a lot of this stuff talk about and it reminds me of Avery. You know, Avery, who, you know, through St. Paul,
Yes.
she was ambassador for a long time, and unbelievably beautiful little girl. Again, stellar courage. I mean, it was amazing. She was amazing, but she was such an amazing spokesperson for us in Las Vegas, and we lost her, unfortunately. But it just reminds me of when you look at these kids that are going through this thing, and you know, you can draw from, because they're young and they're very creative in how they express themselves and how they communicate, and they're always looking for the positives. You know, they're always reaching for the positives and big smiles and everything. And I remember my first day at St. Baldricks, when I decided I was going to go ahead. My wife told me about, hey, let's donate to Wyndham, you know, Kimsey, and let's donate, you know, on their heads, on his head. So, and I thought, well, what is he doing? And she said, they're shaving their heads. And I go, well, I can shave my head. So I said, okay, I'll do it. Let me do it. And I had like only just like a month or something to do it. And then this big event showed up. And I remember going there thinking, wow, there's a lot of people here. It's like so many. And oh my, it's like a celebration. It was like a party. And I know it's
Mhm.
an Irish pub, but there's this energy that was amazing. And I was like, everybody was hugging each other and talking to each other and everything and patting each other on the back. And it was this weird environment that I was very drawn into. And then they never did it after this, because I think they couldn't. I think the doctors decided that it was a bad idea. But I remember from the particular day that I was there, they had a parade where all the kids were brought from the hospital with their masks. I don't know if you remember this, but they were on their dad's shoulders or parents' shoulders, and they paraded them through. The entire place just erupted. It was like Mick Jagger walked into the building, you know, and these kids were just smiling and waving, and it was, I'll never forget that. The rest of my life, I'll never forget that. And it was a powerful moment. And I'm telling you, I think about it every time, you know, it's getting closer to March. I think about that particular moment, and it's a moment of discovery for me. I call moments of discovery these things that put you on paths when there's important
Mhm.
things happen to you in life. Excuse me. Important things happen to you in life, and they really clear your head, and they tell you, you know what, this is what you need to be doing. So this is my personal ask. St. Baldricks is an amazing organization. I'm going to be part of it for as long as I'm able, and that means as long as I breathe. And I could live in China, and I'll fly out to McMillan's Irish Pub every year to get my head shaved. So I'm in, right? If you are capable and you have time to give back in some way, anyone out there listening to this, you should. I'm not saying it should be St. Baldrick's. That's my choice, and it's a lot of great people are involved. But there are a lot of organizations out there, a lot of them that are fighting really hard, and nonprofit is ridiculous sometimes, because you know the people doing the best work are doing it for no profit. It seems kind of strange to me, but but it is what it is, and these people work for generally little pay, and they limit their budgets. And I know the St. Baldrick's is very open about how they spend their money, and that's one of the reasons I love them too, because they're an open book. You know, if you just do the research and you can learn exactly how they spend the money, they are not wasteful. I know that for a fact.
Mhm.
So I know that my money that I raise is going to directly to a good cause, and I trust them 100% with that. That's a very important thing. Do your research. Make sure you find a thing that means something to you, and I suggest you do it. And it's going to create that moment I'm talking about. It's going to put you on a path that's going to literally feed everything else you do. There's a bigger thing here. Helping organizations that do these kinds of things, it's fulfilling in so many more ways than you imagine. And it just teaches us something that I think we're forgetting
Mhm.
right now. I think there's a lot of that out there right now. We're forgetting some of these things. Anyway, I'm sorry. It's just, I think it's
Well
important.
said.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot, like you said, I think things are connected in so many
Mhm.
ways. We like to compartmentalize things.
You
But
know, one of the things that I think makes the St. Baldricks Foundation different from many nonprofits is because we recruit people to be part of this mission, and we figure out where their interests are, where their strengths are, and how they would like to deploy them.
Mhm.
We coach them, equip them to go do that. So they basically have, Alex, accepted that mission as their personal mission.
Mhm.
It's not like they show up on event day, they say, okay, I'm going to volunteer on March 17th at an event, and they show up and get an assignment from an employee. They don't. They create the event that happens on March 17th or whatever day of the year it happens.
Right.
And they make it happen. It's their vision, it's their reality, and they recruit their friends, and they build a committee, and they recruit teams of shavees and volunteers and barbers and all different people to make it happen. It is each community's accomplishment together.
Mhm.
And I think that's the difference, and why each community feels such pride, because it's not like, oh, we signed on to some national effort. No, we are taking power back at the local level. We are grassroots. We are driving this. We are making this happen.
Mhm.
And every single person gets to see the role they play. And I don't know if you were at the event the year or at the time of the event that I was there one year, and I told a story it was at McMullen's,
Mhm.
and I told the story of a little boy named Jeremy, who I had met at an event in another state. And Jeremy at the time was 6. And Jeremy was in treatment. He had a mask on at the event. He was doing well, but he was vulnerable. You know, I can't speak to all the specifics that were going on, but you knew he was fragile. And Jeremy was sitting on a stool not far off the stage. And every time a new shavee would sit in the chair and start losing their hair, Jeremy would let out these belly laughs that was just like he was just in fits of delight. And I thought, wow, does he think everybody looks funny, or what's the deal, right? So I go up and I start talking to Jeremy. And I said, so is this funny? Like, what, I was trying to figure out where the belly laughs are coming from. He said, no, it's not funny. It's so exciting. It means I'm going to get to grow up. That is my moment that never leaves me, Alex. And that, for me, is the thing I play over in my head every day.
Yeah.
Out of the mouths of babes, right? The simplicity of the moment, but the grandeur of the gesture,
Mhm.
he knew exactly what it meant to him.
Right.
And what was at stake. And he described it in a way that levels me to this day.
Mhm.
It was almost 15 years ago. And I've lost track of Jeremy. I don't know what has become of him. I pray he survived. I pray for him every day. And that's one of those moments. That's my instant recall.
Yeah.
And, I find myself thinking of him in that moment in meetings when I'm challenging myself to be better, to do better, whatever it is, right?
Right.
Be more creative, to dig a little deeper, whatever is required. Right. And it's for Jeremy and for every other child, because he just embodied that innocence and that wisdom all in one moment. And
that's very powerful, and it really kind of it puts everything in perspective, because you're at these events, everybody's cheering, having a great time, and it's connected to some very, very, very scary things. But human nature and the way we are, right? We know that if it's fun and if it's a joyous occasion, that it's going to draw more people in. And the connection, the joyous occasion connected to something so serious, we all know what it's about. We all are aware what's going on and what we're fighting. And it's a battle, and it's very Irish, Irish are it's very, that's what I love about it too. The Irish are happiest when they're fighting, right? and they're the saddest when they're singing, and it's it's this
That's true.
it's this
That's true.
interesting thing, but yeah, I do. I think I thank you for sharing that. I do not.
Mhm.
I don't think. I think I was having a pint when you were telling that story somewhere in the other
Mm.
corner of the pub or something. We're all patting ourselves on the back for looking good, bald or something. But but regardless, that is an incredible thing, and I hope that it'll come back in some way. I know that we have restrictions now with what we're doing, and I
Mhm.
shaved my head, on internet, because I wasn't able to be at the last event.
Right.
But there are ways of doing this, and hopefully we'll be able to be together to do it again, and you and I be able to give each other a hug, and
I would love that.
yeah, and
Well,
thank you. Go ahead. What were you saying?
oh, I was just going to say you were referring to the virtual events that we've been
Okay,
having
good.
here,
Yeah.
and we have another big push coming in September. Some events, depending upon where you are in the country and how the reopening of the economy and
Sure.
those things and how things are going, we hope to have many in-person events in September. We also will be continuing all the virtual activities. In the meantime, we have our Do What You Want program. And I should back up a second and say the reason why September is because September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And so it's a very fitting time as we go back to school and we hopefully kind of help start returning to our more normal lives, that we focus again on something. We don't want to emerge from this pandemic and find we've left kids behind, kids with cancer. We want to make sure that they prevail in their epic battles too. And so Childhood Cancer Month is a good time to kind of focus everybody's attention. So I would ask your audience to be thinking of that and how they can help us get the word out, not only in September, but in the months leading up to that, so we can really create some new momentum.
Mm-hmm.
We'll carry through then to next spring's head shaving events. It's great to have a great run up to those. September 17th is halfway to St. Patrick's Day, so it's time to start our game face on and thinking about how we're going to maximize that fundraising. And in the meantime, we have our Do What You Want program, where people who may be inclined to hold on to what hair they have can bring their own idea and fundraise with that using all of the easy to use tools on our website, and can introduce their friends to the cause and give them an opportunity to be a hero too and to be part of the solution. And so thank you for letting me share that, because I hope people will think about it, because we know that shaving isn't for everybody, but you don't have to shave to be a hero.
Get creative.
Yes, be creative, bring your own idea,
Right.
Utilize your social media platforms and so forth to help people to understand what we're up against. And yet there's never been a more exciting time in research and more opportunity to fast track progress. And what we have been investing in is paying off in huge ways. Right. In terms of improved survival and new, more humane therapies and just innovation that's going to allow thousands of more kids to survive every year.
On the video version of this talk, because there's going to be in a podcast version also, but in the video version, there's usually a comment section. So if anybody has questions and you want to comment, I'll do my best to answer them. And if I can't get an answer for you, if I don't have the answer, I'll get the answer for you. So any questions you might have about the organization, please comment, and then I'll get you the answers that you need. So, this organization, St. Baldricks, is full of angels, and you're one of them. And your team is as well. You spend your time thanking people like me who give our time, and we deserve thanks, sure. I mean, I appreciate that, and I think so. But I want to turn it back on you. I think everybody that is involved with this organization is very proud of you and your team, and we need to all thank you. And I'm speaking for all of them to thank you guys for the efforts you make. Please take that back to your team.
I'd be honored to, Alex. Thank you.
And we appreciate all the work that you guys do. God, trying not to get emotional here. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap up. We're at our time. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
I would just say, please encourage your audience to visit us on stbaldricks.org. That's stbaldricks.org. Mm-hmm. and learn more, reach out to us. We would love to help brainstorm with you and figure out the best way to deploy your creative talents in service of the cancer.
Nice. I like that. Good segue into the theme. I appreciate it. So thank you so much. All the links that you talked about, I'll make sure are available to everybody going forward. And here's to, us raising a ton of money. We're very close to hitting $1 million on my team, by the way. We started like a decade ago, and I think on this next one, we're going to definitely hit $1 million. So
that's something to celebrate, Alex. That is huge, incredible leadership there. Thank you.
All by design. Phil Ralston is our captain, and Phil Ralston is a champion. That guy.
Phil Ralston is now a member of the St Baldricks Foundation Board of Directors.
Yes, he is. I know this. He tells me every time I see him.
He brings it, man. He's amazing. Had a board meeting earlier this week. He asked such great, insightful questions, and he is always thinking. Talk about a creative mind. You are very simpatico, because he's always thinking of new creative ways to bring people into the organization. I love that. I wish
he and I are very close. I call him Captain, my captain. I am so happy that he is the captain of the team, and his leadership skills are amazing. And he is so committed to the organization in so many ways. He's fantastic. And like I said, there's a lot of fantastic people out there, and I'm sorry I couldn't mention all of them, but they're definitely out there, and you'll see one if you guys want to get involved in everything. But anyway, Kathleen, you're awesome. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Alex. We appreciate it.